Hello students, welcome back to the class of English Literature. How are you all? I wish all will be fine. So students, this is our book of English 2nd Treasure Trove. In last video, we completed our poems. Now we are going to start short stories. This is the contents. First chapter, Chief Seattle's speech, that we are going to study today. So before starting the speech, we will come to know about the writer, who is author of this chapter, Seattle himself. Seattle was born around 1780 near Blake Island, Washington. Seattle earned his reputation at a young age as a reader and a warrior, ambushing and defeating groups of tribal enemy raiders coming up the Green River from the Cascade foothills, and attacking the Chimacum and the Esclalum tribes living on the Olympic Peninsula. Like many of the contemporaries, he owed slaves captured during his raids. He was tall and broad for a Puget Sound native. Puget Sound, a wildlife sound it is, standing nearly 6 feet tall. Hudson Bay Company traders gave him the nickname Lee Gross, the big guy. He was also known as an orator, and when he addressed an audience, his voice loud and bold. For all his skill, Seattle was gradually losing ground to the more powerful Pitcairn of the Snohomish when white settlers started showing up in force around 1850. In later years, Seattle claimed to have seen the ships of Vancouver expedition as they explored Puget Sound in 1792. When his people were driven from their traditional climbing grounds, Seattle met Doc Maynard in Olympia, and they formed a friendly relationship useful to both, persuading the settlers at the white settlement of Duvams to rename their town Seattle. Maynard established their support for Chief Seattle's people and negotiated relatively peaceful relation with the tribes. This was about the Chief Seattle. So before start explanation of the poem, we will come to know about Chief Seattle personally at how his character. Chief Seattle belonged to Squamish tribe. He is a prominent figure among his tribal people. He delivers a speech in which he strikes a knot of reconciliation between his tribal people and the white people. He is brilliant, argumentative, and logical in his speech, in which he pursues the path of accommodation to the white settlers in the U.S. state of Washington. He argues in favor of ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' land rights. He advocates peace and does not want the hostilities that existed between the white people and the tribal people to return. He is wise, profound, and philosophical. He philosophizes that tribe follows tribe and nation follows nation, like the waves of the sea. He calls death only a change of worlds. Now let's read about the story. What is there in the story? It is a speech delivered in 1854 by Chief Seattle, who belonged to Squamish tribe. He delivered this speech at Washington, and in he pursued the path of accommodation to white settlers in the US state of Washington. His speech contained arguments in favor of ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' land rights. He recollects the hostilities that existed between the white and his tribal people, the red children. He thinks that his old tribal people will never like to resume the old hostilities. He hopes that their good father in Washington would protect them. He realizes that they, the white men and the red children, are two distinct races. There is little common in them. He refers to the proposition received from the white man. He thinks that the proposition seems to be fair and his people will accept it. But he puts a condition before they take a decision. He says that his people will be free to visit the tombs of their ancestors, friends, and children at any time. He opines that the deserted streets at night will be thronged with the returning hosts that once filled them and still love this beautiful land. So now, summary of the poem. It will help you to understand the text. So listen to it carefully. First, helpline we will study. Here it is given. In your workbook you can see Chief Seattle, a prominent figure among his tribal people. It means to say a well-known personality. He recollects hostilities between the white people and the tribal people. Thinks of two distinct races with separate organs and separate destinies. White man, religion written upon tablets of stone by the iron fingers of God. The white man's proposition seems fair. Chief Seattle thinks that after the red man, the shores will swim with the invisible dead of his tribe. The white man will never be alone. So these were the helplines. Now summary. What is there in the story? Chief Seattle, already I told you that it is a prominent figure. It means a well-known personality in his tribe. Character you have read. So it is a speech delivered in 1854 by Chief Seattle, who belonged to Suquamish tribe. He was a prominent figure among his tribal people. In his speech at Washington, he pursued the path of accommodation to white settlers in the US state of Washington. His speech contained arguments in favor of ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' land rights. He thanks the white chief for acknowledging his greetings of friendship and goodwill. He praises the kindness and greatness of the white chief. He says that though he wishes to buy their land, he is willing to allow them liberty to live comfortably. He calls it a gesture of generosity. Hostilities. He recollects the time when the white men began to push their forefathers westward. Forefather means to say ancestors. There were hostilities between them. He wishes that those hostilities, it means to say oppositions, problems, may never return. The young men would like to take revenge, but the old tribal people are wise and would never like to resume the hostilities towards the white. He hopes that their good father in Washington would protect them and his brave warriors would prove to be a great wall of strength against their ancient enemies who frightened their women, children and the old men. then in reality he would be their father and they would be his children. The white and the tribal people. But then he entertains a doubt. Which type of doubt? He feels that God of the white people is not their God. The God of the white people loves his own people and hates the tribal people, the red children. It means the people belongs to Chief Settle. He has forsaken his red children. He then refers to his own God, the Great Spirit, who also seems to have forsaken them. The white man's God neither loves his people nor protects them. They seem to be orphans who can look nowhere for help. Who can look nowhere for help. It means there was no help for them. Thus he remarks that they are two distinct races with the separate organs and separate destinies. There is little in common between them. The religion of the white. He then says that the white man's religion was written upon tablets of stone by the iron fingers of their God, so that they could not forget. The red man could never comprehend or remember it, but their religion is the traditions of their ancestors. Actually, tribal people always follow the tradition which are usually going on in their tribe. It constitutes the dream of their old man is written in the hearts of their people. He further remarks that their dead cease to love them and the land of their nativity. But on the other hand, the dead of his race never forget their beautiful world that gave them their being. He says that the red man has always fled the approach of the white man, but the white man's propositions seems fair and he thinks that his people will accept it. He hopes that then they will dwell apart in peace. For a while, he mourns over the graves of his powerful people, but then he philosophies that tribe follows tribe and nation follows nation like the waves of the sea. So it is the order of nature and the regrets is useless. Actually, he was demanding the freedom. Which type of freedom? While this time the owner of their land was white settlers. Okay, but he was demanding that they should get freedom to go their ancestors' tomb, to touch the land where usually they live, because they were having sentimental touch with the rivers, with this land, with the tomb where they lived. That's why he is demanding this freedom, that we will work here to survive only. What will be the benefit? You will take, no problem is there. Chief Settle's decision. What is the decision? He then remarks that they will ponder over their proposition and convey to them their decision. But before the decision, he puts a friends and children he puts a condition. What is the condition? The condition is that they will be free to visit the tombs of their ancestors, friends and children at any time. Every part of the soil is sacred to them, holy to them. The dead people of his race will love these sober solitudes. He thinks that when the last red man shall have perished, these shores will swim with the invisible dead of his tribe. Perished means to say went to heaven. It means when they will made to death. In all the earth there is no place dedicated to solitude. At night, the deserted streets will be thronged with the returning host that once filled them and still love this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. It means if we will be with them, then the road will be filled with the people. Again, you will see everywhere beauty will be there. Road will be full with people. So, this was the demand of Chief Settles with the help of this letter, which is dictating in the form of speech. So students, I hope this story is clear to you. Once you will read the text and try to understand the sense, then try to solve your workbook. If any query is there, then you can use comment box. So thank you students. Stay at home, stay safe. Thank you very much.